What's up, Bengals fans? Welcome back to another Bengals breakdown. Today, we've got a big update surrounding Trey Hendrickson. And yes, those trade rumors are heating up again. Now, before we get too deep into this, let's be clear. While nothing feels imminent right now, the noise is definitely out there, and it's worth talking about. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss a Bengals update. All right, let's get into it. This whole situation really started picking up after Rappaport reported that contract talks between the Bengals and Hendrickson have hit a wall. Soon after, Jordan Schultz and Paul Denner Jr. added their insight, and the picture became a lot clearer. The Bengals are at least listening to trade offers. It doesn't mean they'll actually pull the trigger, but it does show that the team has done its homework. And with the preseason wrapping up, the clock is ticking. If the Bengals were ever to move Trey Hendrickson, the price tag would be massive. We're talking about a package that almost certainly includes a young player and a valuable draft pick. And honestly, that's the only way a trade could even make sense. Think about it. You don't just give up an elite pass rusher without getting someone who can immediately strengthen this defense. Whether that's a direct replacement on the edge or a key piece in the secondary, both areas that need consistency, it has to be an impact addition. Some fans have thrown around names like Justin Simmons as a dream fit in the back end, though that would obviously come from free agency, not a trade. The bigger point is this. If Cincinnati really wanted to maximize Hendrickson's value, the draft would have been the perfect time. That's when you can flip a star for premium capital and stack multiple picks to boost the roster. Right now, reports say the Bengals are at least listening. If anything does happen, it would almost certainly be in the next couple of weeks, before the season officially kicks off. And the rumor mill hasn't stopped. Jordan Schultz mentioned that teams like the Panthers, Browns, and Colts have all shown interest in Hendrickson. So the question remains, do the Bengals actually make that move, or does Hendrickson stay put as the heartbeat of this defense? Now, here's the thing. While reports mention the Panthers, Colts, and Browns as interested teams, nothing confirms that actual offers have been made. Right now, it feels more like teams are simply testing the waters, checking if Cincinnati would even consider moving Hendrickson. But let's be real. There's no way the Bengals are sending their best defensive player to the Browns. Trading inside the division, especially to an in-state rival, would be almost unthinkable. The Panthers and Colts? Sure, those could make a little more sense. But the question is, what would they realistically give up that matches Hendrickson's value? That's the tricky part. Paul Denner Jr. also weighed in, and his take is important. This isn't a case of the Bengals fishing for interest. They've always listened when it comes to offers, but the asking price has stayed sky high. Realistically, it's very unlikely that another team will both meet that price and pay Hendrickson the kind of extension he's looking for. And here's the kicker. Hendrickson isn't asking for anything outrageous. From all reports, he just wants a 3-year guaranteed deal. For a guy who's been the heartbeat of Cincinnati's pass rush, that doesn't sound like a wild demand. The bigger question is whether the Bengals are willing to commit to that right now, or if they want to let this play out into the season. Here's what makes this situation even more interesting. Trey Hendrickson isn't asking to reset the market. He's not demanding to be the highest paid defensive end or the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. What he wants is fair recognition, a contract that puts him in the top tier, around the top 5 at his position. And frankly, when you look at his production, it's hard to argue. Over the last 2 seasons, he's been right there among the league's sack leaders. In my eyes, he's outperformed stars like Myles Garrett and even Micah Parsons when it comes to consistency and pure disruption. Yet Hendrickson isn't pushing to match their salaries. He knows he's 30 years old, and he's realistic about it. That's where the tension lies. For a defensive end at 30, you can still have 3 or 4 really strong years left, which lines up perfectly with the 3-year guarantee he's asking for. But from the Bengals front office perspective, that's a gamble. They're worried that by year 2 or 3, his play might hit a decline, and then you're stuck paying guaranteed money to a player who isn't producing at the same elite level. It's also important to remember, Hendrickson is already under contract. He's heading into year 3 of a 4-year deal worth $18 million per season. For most players, that's a significant payday. But compared to what he's given this defense, and compared to the market for top pass rushers, you can understand why he feels he's earned a bump. When you compare Trey Hendrickson's contract to the top of the market, the gap is hard to ignore. Myles Garrett is making around $35 million per year, while Hendrickson is sitting at about half that number. Despite leading the NFL in sacks over the last 2 seasons with a combined 17.5 each year. For a player producing at that level, asking for a 3-year guarantee doesn't sound unreasonable. From a pure football standpoint, Hendrickson changes everything for the Bengals defense. His presence gives Cincinnati a consistent pass rushing threat that forces offenses to adjust every single snap. Sure, critics will point out that he isn't the strongest run defender in the league, but when it comes to getting after the quarterback, there's no one better right now. That's exactly why the Bengals need him locked in and ready for week 1 of the 2025 season. And here's the reality. If Cincinnati ever decided to trade him, the price would have to be sky high. At minimum, you're talking about a first-round pick, and maybe even more depending on the quality of the player involved. Anything less wouldn't come close to matching Hendrickson's value. As the season opener approaches, this situation puts the Bengals in a tough spot. Balance long-term risk with the immediate need to keep one of the NFL's most dominant pass rushers on the field. One area that could really shape the Bengals' decision-making is the secondary. The safety position has been inconsistent, but cornerback play has been an even bigger concern. Cam Taylor-Britt is set to make his preseason debut soon, and the team hopes he takes a step forward. Still, adding a proven veteran or even a young breakout talent in the secondary feels like a move that could stabilize things quickly. The offensive line is another question mark. Dylan Fairchild has shown promise in camp, but the right guard spot hasn't been nearly as steady. Protecting Joe Burrow remains priority number 1, and if that means exploring a trade for an interior lineman, it's an option the front office can't ignore. Even so, the defense is the heart of this conversation. Losing Hendrickson would leave a massive hole. Sure, guys like Joseph Osai or Myles Murphy could step into bigger roles, but replacing Hendrickson's production and leadership is nearly impossible. That's why these rumors sting, because his presence has been central to what the Bengals have built the past 2 seasons. For now, the trade buzz is just that, buzz. But as long as Hendrickson's contract remains unresolved, the story isn't going away. The Bengals will soon have to decide, secure their star pass rusher for the long haul, or roll the dice on a blockbuster move before the season begins.